Well, hey, y'all. Smatter Chew here. As promised, whenever I do any gun related issues, we start with the Second Amendment. I'll let you know it's going to be a pew pew video. So, the Second Amendment to the United States Constitution, a well regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. I'm Smatter Chew. I'm your host. This episode is brought to you once again by My Fat Ass. So apparently the Supreme Court has basically nixed the bump stock ban. Said, nope, can't do that. It's unconstitutional. If you want to do that, you've got to do it the way the rest of the laws are made. You bring it up before Congress. We propose an amendment to the Constitution. Congress votes on it. There's got to be a 2/3 majority. The president has to sign on it. They're basically saying that the bump stock is a machine gun. That was their original claim. So for those of you who don't know what a bump stock is, bump stock is a novelty addition to your AR-15. They probably make it for other ones, for AK-47s, that sort of thing. But the most popular one was for the AR-15. AR-15 is one of the most popular sporting rifles that I know of all time, especially in America. And for demonstration purposes, I'll show you basically what a bump stock does. I don't actually own a bump stock. Probably would never own one. I have shot one, but it's at novelty. It's just a novelty at best, in my opinion. So we welcome yours. And we'll go over why it is a victory for the 2A community for us to have the bump stock back. This is one of my AR-15s. This is actually chambered in 5.56 223. I currently have a conversion kit on it to shoot .22 long rifle. Our weapon is clear. There's no magazine. This weapon is perfectly safe to handle. I'm going to adjust the camera just a little bit. There we go. So you can see a little bit more of this beautiful weapon. So basically your bump stock is an accessory. There's a couple different versions of it that I've seen. And it basically replaces, let's see if we can get this out of the way. There we go. It replaces your stock. It will allow, this is a adjustable stock, but it will allow slide movement of the weapon within that stock. At the same time, it's got a device that's permanently attached to the bump stock that comes around and slides up and comes very, very close to the trigger housing guide. It doesn't do anything with the trigger, but it is a place to rest your finger. So in order to achieve bump fire with the device, you basically will have your hand rested against that vise with your fingertips sticking far enough in there to where it'll make contact with the trigger. At that point, your bump stock is all the way in the forward position. When you want to fire the weapon, you have your finger against that and you just literally will slide the gun within the bump stock mechanism. It will allow you to slide forward enough to pull the trigger. Once you pull the trigger and the round discharges, the recoil from the weapon slides again within the bump stock, but you are generally keeping a minor amount of force pushing forward on the rifle. This allows you to shoot again. So basically it's doing this. You see my hand is steady, but the rifle is bouncing against the trigger. So that's what bump fire is. There are plenty of elected representatives that have a misconception and want to confuse the pistol brace with a bump stock. They're two completely different things for two completely different purposes. What we're talking about right now is the bump stock. And the problem with the bump stock is that you are basically giving up control of the rear part of this weapon. You're not able to hold it tight into your shoulder. You're not able to grip it like you would in normal circumstances. So whenever you're firing this thing, you have your tight grip on the bump stock while the whole time the weapon is being fired. Well, the only part that you've grabbed a hold of and you have complete control of is the forward part, whether or not you have a forward grip, whether or not you choose to grab the handguard. That's the only part you have solid control over. So these weapons, as they're fired with the bump stock, they're all over the place downrange. You're not firing accurately. You're not firing efficiently. You're wasting ammo. That's why I think it's a novelty and it's a piece of shit. Not only that, you don't even need a bump stock to bump fire. People do it all the time. Hook your thumb in your belt loop, bring your AR-15 down by your side, and you basically just use your belt loop to keep tension on your hand, and you pull the rifle forward. Again, you can't control it very well, but you'll get a rapid fire, almost as much as or almost as fast as full automatic fire rate. So you don't even need the bump stock to do that. So banning this really doesn't ban bump firing. You can actually do it just by holding the weapon loosely in your hand and just pulling it, just like I did the demonstration. You can bump fire it that way. And it's even less accurate when you do it without the actual bump stock. But don't let anybody fool you. It's a waste of ammo. As a United States military veteran, I was in the Army. When I went through basic, I had the M16A1, which was capable of full automatic fire. Had a select fire switch on it. You go from safety safe to semi to full automatic. So I fired on full automatic. Then when I got to permanent party, they later issued us the M16A2. They upgraded the option of automatic fire to 3-round burst. So I think the main reason, and according to my research and from what I've been told, the reason why was you had young soldiers potentially getting into a battle situation, panicking, and basically pulling the trigger and holding it because they're just tensed up or whatever. But you do that when you're on full automatic fire, and you'll empty a 30-round magazine just like that. So now you're out of ammo. So now you got to reload. By changing over the option from fully automatic to semi-automatic, from fully automatic to 3-round burst, each time the soldier will pull the trigger, you get 3 rounds. Pow, 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 pow. And with minimal effort, if you're concentrating on what you're doing and you're not in panic mode, you can mimic full auto fire as if it was just fully automatic with very little effort. But because it shoots more than 1 round, when you pull the trigger, it's still considered machine gun fire, which is the whole point of the ATF trying to ban these bump stocks. They said that, hey, this makes it a machine gun. By definition, no, it does not. Machine gun, when you pull the trigger, it doesn't stop firing until you're out of ammo. Or in the case of the 3-round burst, it fires more than 1 round. So technically the definition is it has to fire more than 1 round with 1 trigger pull. So either way, the full auto or 3-round burst qualify as a machine gun. And the M16, even with a bump stock or binary trigger, that's a whole nother thing we can go on, a binary trigger. I'll do a different video on that. But your AR-15 with a bump stock, you're still using 1 action, 1 trigger pull, 1 action, 1 trigger pull, 1 action, 1 trigger pull. All that, each trigger pull gets 1 round. So that's 1 trigger pull, 1 round, 1 trigger pull, 1 round, 1 trigger pull, 1 round. That's semi-automatic fire. How you achieved the higher rate is irrelevant. It's still 1 trigger pull, 1 round. So it's not a machine gun. And if they want to ban it, they've got to go about it. Supreme Court has said you got to do it the right way. You can't just go, oh well, this seems too dangerous. So why is this a win for the 2A community? Because Smatter Chew hates the bump stock. I think it's a piece of shit. It's a novelty at best. Is it fun? Hell yes, it's fun. But you can go to a lot of ranges. You can just rent a fully automatic firearm if you want to get your rocks off that way and shoot. I mean, hell, you can shoot a 50 cal on a tripod. You can shoot, they have fully automatic Glocks with a legal Glock switch in them. These are weapons that were made after 1986, they would have been made, well, they could have been made before or after 1986, but they're strictly for either law enforcement or military use, that sort of thing. In theory, the idea is any machine gun made after 1986, after its life is, expelled through service, it needs to be destroyed. So that's the trick with fully automatic fire. It's perfectly legal to own one, but you have to find an idiot to sell you one that was made before 1986, because otherwise you can't be in possession of one. Anyway, the bump stock is a piece of junk. However, even if I don't like it, I shouldn't be, or no one should tell you that you can't like it or that you can't have it. there's no reason why I should have that power or the government should have that power to take any amount of your Second Amendment rights away from you. And that is the main, I think that was a big mistake by President Trump, and I have a bone to pick with him on that. I think he didn't understand. He's not a 2A guy, but he doesn't understand the 2A argument politically or realistically, especially politically. You give the left or the anti-gun community an inch and they will take a mile. So this sets a precedence. Now, if they ban that, well, now they can ban binary triggers. Well, now they can, because it's basically, it's the way they're interpreting it. If it just looks like, I mean, the same way they've kind of bastardized the AR-15. This is just a semi-automatic sporting rifle. It actually started in the civilian market. It's an AR-15. AR does not stand for assault rifle. It's Armalite Rifle Company. They were the ones who came up with the design. It's very minimalistic. It's simple. Which is why the military decided, hey, that's probably a good idea for us to use it eventually. And there's a whole history behind that. Some fun research. You want to go check it out yourself. But it actually started out as a civilian rifle. The military adapted it, made a few tweaks to it. One of them being full automatic select fire. So fully automatic, and then later 3-round burst. And they're still using the platform today. But this was a civilian rifle before it was a military rifle. So for us to have the AR-15 is perfectly fine. The military just thought it was a good design, and they use the Beretta too, the Beretta 92F. So what? Because that's, being used in the military. That's a military weapon we can't use anymore. No, nobody ever says anything about that. Heaven forbid. The 1911, designed by Colt in 1911. Actually, I think it was designed before that. But the model, the 1911, this was a military sidearm. So what? Because this is a military, we can't use that either? Please. The Second Amendment is absolute, contrary to popular belief or what Joe Brandon will tell you. It is absolute. And that's why I read it at the beginning of every one of my videos pertaining to firearms. I thoroughly enjoy exercising my Second Amendment rights, if you haven't noticed. And I highly recommend that you take advantage of your Second Amendment rights. So yeah, learn about it, enjoy it, and don't be afraid to exercise it. I hope you guys get as much out of this as I do making them. I appreciate your patronage. I am Smatterchew, and I approve of this message. Smatterchew out.